Paolo. Hi, Adrian. How are you?
Okay. But
Nice to meet you.
we are going to interview you, sir, about po sa being life of being a project manager po. So our first question, sir, how did you start in your current field? So, ano po yung mga roles na na-assign sa inyo nung time po na nagsisimula pa na kayo dito sa field nyo ngayon?
Well, before I answer that, I've been a project manager for 2 years now, and I've been given a lot of tasks, and a lot of them are really challenging, but I was able to find a way to make the project even better with the help of my team.
Tapos, sir, bale, how long have you been serving? Gano'n po katagal naging project manager?
Been a project manager for 2 years
2 years
now,
na.
yes.
So,
And hope to make it a little longer.
okay. So, ano po yung mga roles na, nung nagsa-start pa lang po, ano po yung roles na na-assign sa inyo?
As a project manager, I guess that's the only role I have been given. I have been assigned task to lead a project and then work on the logistics, work on implementation, that it should be carefully curated, planned, depending on what the client or the business partner needs.
My next question, what are the pros and cons of being a project manager?
Actually, there are a lot of pros and cons, but let me start first with the advantages or the pros of being a project manager. As a project manager, you get to understand the business as a whole, including the processes. And then once you have a full grasp or full understanding of what the business is, then there comes your way of helping the business achieve its goals, and then you can make ways or think of ways on how to implement what you have in mind. Now for the cons or the disadvantages, there are a lot, but then we should not really look at it as something disadvantageous, but perhaps the responsibility of having the burden to carry everything, because as a project manager you really have to think of possible ways, not just possible but better ways to solve a problem, to implement a project. So it's really very hard during the planning stage.
Does being a project manager come with a number of benefits?
Sure it does. There are a lot of benefits. I mean, not only with the compensation, but also as a project manager, as a person, you can grow with your career. Your skills are being honed. You are being nurtured to analyze the root causes, and then you get to solve problems, you get to implement them, and that makes you a better person. It comes with a training.
So, sir, how would you describe your communication and leadership style as a project manager?
Let's go first with the communication style. As someone who has to communicate every now and then, I think that I am more of a listener, because as a project manager, you really have to listen to all the suggestions and ideas before you get to decide. So therefore, you really have to nurture your listening skills, because only then can you fully think of what to make or what to decide on. And then as a leader, I think I am more of a situational leader. I don't really have certain sets of skills or approaches to being a leader, but I get to think of the situation. I analyze the situation, and then there, I guess, comes my leadership style. It depends on the situation. If it calls for being a stern leader, then I guess I have to be stern. If it calls to be relaxed, then I guess I would have to be relaxed, depending on the situation. Because I guess as a leader, you should not really have one style in particular. You really have to know how to play the game in order for you to achieve your desired results.
So, sir, in relation to that, sir, what is your communication style with your team?
With my team, I listen to their suggestions. I let them think. I do not restrict them to my ideas, because of course there are always people better than we are. So it's really pays to listen to them. It really pays to let them talk, and then from there you can think of ways how to approach this project. Am I gonna follow this person's suggestion? Am I gonna follow my own? Or can we do an eclectic approach, meaning, okay, I'll get chunks from your suggestion, I'll get chunks from his suggestions, and then from mine, and then we can make it a lot better.
How do you go about managing the performance of your team?
Performance is something that should be evaluated very objectively, it should not be based on my biases. This person, I don't like the way he dresses. This person, I don't like the way she talks. So those things should not really be a factor for me to evaluate one team member or one member. But it should always be about the performance. How contributing this person is, what are his or her contributions, how heavy or how wakeful his suggestions or her suggestions are. Those are the things I look into it. How he manages his time, how she performs, or how she looks at the task, how she solves problem. Those are the things that a project manager or any leader should really consider or take factor in.
In relation to that, how do you motivate team members?
I think I'm really good with motivation. I try to reinforce people with good words, praises, if they really deserve it. But then if somebody makes a mistake, well, I think I am not really that sternful. I talk to the person and then I try to speak words that are helpful because words are really powerful. Since they are powerful, you should really be very careful with or very prudent with what you say. You cannot just say this and that because it might give a sense of entitlement to the person when you constantly praise him or her, or when you constantly calls out another person, it might have an effect on him. So there should be balance with the words one must choose.
For the next questions, what was the biggest or most challenging project that you managed?
I guess the most challenging or probably the most difficult project I've ever handled was just recently where when I was tasked to spearhead everything about client presentation using new technologies. We all know how some Filipinos are unaccepting of latest innovations. Most of the companies in the Philippines, even big companies, are still really, I have a term for that, digital resistors as opposed to being digital explorers. Most companies, they resist technology, they resist innovation. So it's very difficult to introduce something new, a foreign concept to someone who is not really up for the challenge. So I guess that was the most challenging part. Introducing something to someone not really welcoming to the idea of new technology.
In another part of being a project manager, so how do you do your scheduling of your projects?
As a project manager, scheduling is a very ideal word rather. You really have to carefully look at your schedule, manage your time really well. So I always allot rather contingency days. Sometimes I would have 1 to 2 contingency days or buffer days. So if something goes unpleasant, I would always have a day or two to work on its solution and find ways to how to better solve the issue that arises.
So to close up our interview, sir, any advice that you would give to anyone who are interested in becoming a project manager in the future?
Well, I'm going to start with a universal advice. Being a project manager is like doing something you want to do for the first time or you want to achieve at the first time. You always have to put your heart and mind into it and only then everything follows. As a project manager, my advice for those who want to pursue career in project management, you really have to be very oriented. Ever heard the phrase detail-oriented? You really have to be like that. You really have to look at each detail, the nitty-gritty of everything. Because those nitty-gritty, those trivial things which most people probably would miss out, they are very important. They are very concomitant to how the project would go or how the project, or how successful would the project be. So another thing is you really have to manage your time. Just like in any other career path you take, you should really know rather how to manage your time. Because if you don't manage your time well, then you don't get things done on time. Probably also always be motivated. Always find ways to motivate yourself, to motivate the people around you. Because as a project manager, it's really difficult to be when you are overwhelmed with a lot of tasks coming in left and right. You really need to have focus and clarity. Okay, this is the work I'm doing now. I'll do it later. Then the next project I'll do it later. You don't have to be hodgepodge or be swamped with the projects you're handling one at a time. So there.
Well, that's all for our interview. We would like to thank you for your time and your wisdom. We have learned a lot today, sir.
Thank you too for interviewing me. My pleasure.